Okay, so this video shows the installation of handholds for the SU-85. You're going to need some strips, or a long strip, of 1mm wide cereal box that's been pre-hardened with 2-to-1 glue. First thing we're going to do is take that strip of cardboard and cut out some little squares about 1mm long, and obviously it's a 1mm strip, so you'll get 1mm squares. And they don't have to be exactly square. They're just what we're going to attach the handholds to. Now, quite often these little bits will jump away on you. You can either make a shield to stop them jumping and bounce them back towards you, or you can kind of saw through them. Sometimes when you saw through, rather than just pushing through, they jump away a little bit less. So you don't need a huge amount. I think you need 10 or 12 of these for the SU-85. So I've got plenty here. Now I've already got this one started with bits. So I'm going to do this one, and then we'll cover the installation of the actual handles on that dry vehicle. So if you have a slightly smaller paintbrush than you've been using up till now, that's to your advantage. And I've just got some 4-to-1 glue here. And each of these little symbols is a spot to put one of these handhold bases. And if you get glue on your tool, sometimes the little bits stick to your tool a lot easier than they actually stick to the model. So try to avoid that. And this will go a little bit easier. Also try to keep the little pieces square to the line that you're putting them on top of, or you will end up seeing little bits poking out. And if they are slightly unsquare, like rectangles, then make sure you put the long end of the rectangle along the line so that any longer parts are hidden beneath the handhold. So like this is a slight rectangle, and I've got it lengthways along the line, so that when I put the handhold over top, you won't be able to see any parts of the base there. So actually it looks like 2 handholds on the side of the superstructure, but it's just one long one with support in the center. And this is a little bit of a time-consuming process, but actually the SU-85, there's a lot less handholds than any of the other T-34 models. So in that way, it's a little quicker on this vehicle. Okay. And be really careful, like not to brush your finger across these. Even once they're dry, they can delaminate, or just you just even accidentally can pull them off just by brushing your finger over them, and you don't even notice that you're knocking them off. They're so small. So just be really careful to hold the vehicle by the track covers until the actual handholds are on and you've hardened them again, because even once they're on, they tend to be a little bit delicate until they've actually been finished with a layer of hardener. sometimes knock them off a bit. They do end up very strong though once you've got like a couple layers of glue and paint on them. They're pretty durable parts. You'll be surprised, actually. And so that is it for the bases. So we'll put that away or aside to dry. And I've got one piece set up here so I can show you if you put them on too long, which quite often these pieces you're not going to estimate that length exactly, so you just make one that's extra long. Wait till they dry completely and you can trim them back. So just have them overhanging in one direction and then you can saw the little bit off at the length you want it. So any of them that end up long, just do that. And then once you've got them all on and trimmed, then you want to harden the pieces again. So I've got some shorter ones which I can use for these rear ones, but I don't have anything long enough for this. So I'm just going to cut a couple of sections that are long enough to go on those sides, and I'll just confirm that they're long enough. Yeah, looks like they'll both do. Cool. So we'll throw a piece on the back here quickly. Now it is a little bit nicer and more efficient if you can get them to fit perfectly. The danger being that if you cut them much, too short by more than about half the length of each of these. So if they're too short by more than, I don't know, 3/4 of a millimeter, then they're not usable really. That you will notice that later on when you've installed them. You'll be like, oh, it doesn't quite look right. Now you can, afterwards, if you've got some short pieces, trim the base back. It does change what the shape of the size of the actual handhold was supposed to be, like the length of it. But it can help to make things look a little bit better if you do have some short pieces. You maybe didn't notice they were short before you installed them, and then you're stuck with them on there. You can trim the base back to match the handhold. Now there's a little bit of an overhang there, so I will have to trim that back, but it's not a big deal. So, as I said, this is just one long handhold on a superstructure. So be careful to make this little tiny piece very straight, because you don't want it to look odd on there. Looks like I got that one exactly the right length, which isn't something necessarily I was trying to do, but it is lucky. Not to have to trim them is always an advantage. These side ones are better attached than the other ones because they've got 4 contact points, so they're actually one of the easier bits to trim in the end. Okay, and just follow that procedure, and then once you've got them trimmed, harden them before you're really brushing your finger across them or anything else, and you're good to go. And that's the last bit of detailing until after they're painted. Well, technically you put the stock of the headlight on, but wait until they're painted for any more detailing potentially.